Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah.
You guys know the drill by now. You send us stuff you find interesting, and we take a deep dive into it. So today we're looking at this Reddit thread from Ask Men Advice, and wow, this one sparked some serious conversation. It's about this woman who's dealing with some pretty big changes in her husband and how it's affecting their relationship. And yeah, get ready to explore some complex stuff like relationships, self-image, even a little medical mystery.
Yeah. You know what really struck me about this thread is the huge range of responses.
Yeah.
It really seems to have hit a nerve with people weighing in on all sorts of things from, possible medical conditions to that age-old debate about personal responsibility versus mental health.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what makes it even more interesting is that it's not just some theoretical what-if scenario. This is a real woman, dealing with real feelings and challenges. So let's start with her side of the story. She's pretty upfront about how her husband looks. She talks about him having a noticeable gut and then boils all over his upper body, even extending to his groin. And she mentions he's not exactly the neatest guy either, with this beard she doesn't like and hair that's always a mess. And here's the thing, she's incredibly fit herself and looks younger than she is. You can really feel her frustration.
And it's important to validate those feelings, right? She clearly states that she loves her husband, but it's just that these physical changes are really hard for her. And she even brings up how it's affecting their intimacy, which she still wants.
Exactly. And it puts her in this really tough spot where she's scared to even bring it up with him because she knows he's already insecure about his weight and his acne. Talk about a rock in a hard place.
Yeah, that's definitely a delicate situation. But what I found really interesting is how quickly a bunch of commenters jumped to a possible medical explanation, hidradenitis suppurativa, or HS.
I got to admit, HS is not something I was familiar with.
Hmm.
What can you tell us about that?
So HS is this chronic skin condition where you get these really painful, inflamed lumps under your skin. And they usually pop up in places like your armpits, groin, buttocks. It can be really debilitating, and unfortunately, it's often misdiagnosed.
Wow, that sounds terrible.
Right.
And, one commenter who actually said they have HS mentioned that it can go into remission.
Exactly. And that one comment started this whole other conversation about possible treatments. People were talking about everything from topical gels and antibiotics to even laser hair removal biologics like Humira, and even weight loss is a potential factor.
So basically, we're talking about a huge range of possibilities here, from pretty simple stuff to some pretty serious interventions.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's great that people are trying to help, but it really highlights an important point. As interesting as some of these suggestions might be, Reddit is not a doctor's office, right? We got to remember that online forums should never replace actual medical advice from a professional.
Absolutely. If anyone listening thinks they might have HS or any other medical condition for that matter, please talk to a doctor, not Reddit.
Could agree more. Now, shifting gears a bit, a lot of comments also focused on the husband's mental health. There is this strong feeling that he might be dealing with depression.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, we all know there's a connection between how we feel mentally and how we take care of ourselves physically.
Exactly. Depression can show up in all sorts of ways, and neglecting your appearance is definitely one of them. It can actually become this vicious cycle, You
Yeah.
feel down, so you stop putting effort into how you look, which then makes you feel even worse, and it just keeps going downhill.
And a lot of the commenters picked up on that. They were worried that the husband might be caught in that downward spiral.
And that's a really important reminder to approach the situation with empathy. If the husband is struggling with depression, he needs support and understanding, not criticism. Jumping to conclusions about personal responsibility without considering the impact of mental health can be really damaging.
For sure. But of course, this being Reddit, there's another side to the conversation, a whole debate about, where we draw the line between personal responsibility and using mental health as an excuse for letting yourself go.
Ah, yes, the classic dilemma. It's a question that definitely doesn't have an easy answer.
Right. On one hand, you had people saying, hey, it's not fair to expect your partner to stay attracted to you if you're not putting in any effort to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And then others were arguing that mental health challenges can make it incredibly hard to prioritize things like your appearance. So where's the line between personal choice and legitimate struggle?
It's a really nuanced issue, and I think both sides bring up valid points. On the one hand, we all have a responsibility to take care of ourselves, both for our own well-being and for the health of our relationships. But on the other hand, we also need to understand that mental health challenges can be really debilitating and shouldn't be dismissed as just laziness or letting yourself go.
And some commenters pointed out that there seem to be different expectations for men and women when it comes to attractiveness in relationships. Is that fair? Are we holding people to different standards based on their gender?
That's a really important point, and it's something we can't ignore. Societal pressures and double standards definitely play a role here. For example, one commenter shared a personal story about an ex-girlfriend who criticized his weight. He took it to heart, made a huge change, lost a ton of weight, and now he says women are all over him.
Which, of course, sparked a whole other debate about how men and women experience these societal pressures to conform to certain body ideals.
Exactly. It's a complex issue with deep roots, and it's clear from this thread that it's something a lot of people are struggling with.
So with all these different opinions flying around, what did the Reddit community ultimately suggest the original poster should do? What kind of advice did they offer?
Well, there was a wide range of advice, some more helpful than others.
Let's focus on the practical stuff. What are some concrete steps she can take?
Well, a lot of people emphasize the importance of open and honest communication. They said she needs to talk to her husband about her feelings, but in a way that's sensitive and supportive.
That sounds good in theory, but how do you have that conversation without hurting his feelings, especially when he's already feeling insecure?
That's where the art of communication comes in. It's about framing the conversation in a way that focuses on concern and wanting to work together as a team. Instead of saying, I'm not attracted to you anymore, which can be really hurtful, she could talk about how worried she is about his health and well-being. She could mention how the changes she's noticed are affecting their relationship and tell him she wants to support him in getting back on track.
Several commenters also suggested couples counseling, which seems like a really valuable idea in this situation.
Definitely. Couples counseling can give them a safe and neutral space to work through the underlying issues, whether it's mental health communication problems or just different expectations within the relationship. A therapist can help them learn to communicate more effectively and work towards a more fulfilling dynamic.
And there were some great suggestions for encouraging healthy habits as a couple. Things like cooking healthy meals together, exercising together, finding activities they both enjoy. Those all seem like positive steps they could take.
One commenter specifically suggested joining a cycling class. That could be a fun way to get exercise, spend quality time together, and maybe even rekindle some of that lost passion.
I love that.
Yeah,
So even though this Reddit thread is definitely a mixed bag of opinions and advice, it does offer some valuable insights.
absolutely. It reminds us that relationships are complicated and that ideally individual responsibility for self-care should go hand in hand with mutual support and understanding.
And let's be real, who hasn't struggled with some aspect of this in their own relationships?
Hmm.
This thread really gets you thinking.
Yeah, it really makes you think, we often only see the tip of the iceberg when it comes to other people's lives.
Right. It's like that saying, everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Like in this case, the husband's physical changes could be a sign of something deeper going on. Maybe it's a medical condition like HS or depression or something else entirely.
It's a good reminder to approach others, especially our loved ones, with empathy and understanding. We shouldn't be so quick to judge. We never really know the whole story.
And that's especially important in relationships, I think. It's easy to get stuck in routines and start taking each other for granted. We stop seeing the person and just see the role husband, wife, partner.
Yeah, that's so true. We forget that people are always changing. And those changes, both internal and external, can really affect our relationships in ways we don't expect.
So how do we stay connected to our partners as they grow and change? How do we navigate those shifts without losing that sense of intimacy and understanding?
I think a big part of it is staying curious. It's about asking questions, listening with real interest, and being open to learning new things about the person you love, even if you've been together for years.
And being willing to share your own journey too. Letting your partner see your vulnerabilities, your hopes and fears.
Hmm.
I think that can create a deeper sense of intimacy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's about making a space where both partners feel safe to be themselves without worrying about being judged, where they can be their true selves, even the messy, imperfect parts.
And when challenges come up, because let's face it, they always do in any relationship, it's important to remember you're a team. You're on the same side, facing the obstacle together. It's about finding solutions that work for both of you and working through it together instead of fighting against each other.
I think this thread also brought up something really important, the impact of societal expectations, especially when it comes to men's and women's roles in relationships.
Right, there's this whole idea that men are supposed to be the providers and women are supposed to maintain a certain level of attractiveness. And those expectations can create a lot of pressure and insecurity for both partners.
Definitely. It can lead to resentment, a feeling of not being good enough, and ultimately a breakdown in communication. It's like everyone's trying to fit into these boxes that society has created, and when they don't, there's this feeling of failure or disappointment.
I think it's important to recognize that these expectations are out there, but we don't have to just accept them. We have the power to decide what a healthy and fulfilling relationship looks like for us, both as individuals and as a couple.
Exactly. It's about building a partnership based on mutual respect, support, and a willingness to grow together. It's about valuing each other for who you are, not for who society says you should be.
And sometimes that growth involves physical changes.
Yeah.
As we get older, our bodies change. It's just a natural part of life.
It is, and it's something we often resist. But what if we thought about it differently? What if instead of seeing it as a decline, we saw it as a journey? What if we embraced those changes as a sign of a life well lived? A reminder of the experiences we've shared and the wisdom we've gained.
That's a beautiful way to look at it.
Hmm.
And it doesn't mean we have to stop caring about ourselves. Taking care of our physical health is important at every age, both for our own well-being and for the well-being of our relationships.
Absolutely. It's not about trying to achieve some impossible ideal of youth or beauty. It's about taking care of the body you have, nourishing it, and treating it with respect. And when you think about it that way, it becomes an act of self-love, not just something you do to look good for others.
And when you feel good about yourself, it shows.
Mhm.
It can actually make your relationship stronger because you're bringing that confidence and positive energy into the dynamic.
That's a great point. Taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It's an investment in your relationship. It's a way of saying to your partner, I want to be the best version of myself for you and for us.
So how do we put all of this into practice? What are some concrete things we can do to build healthy relationships that can handle the changes that life throws our way?
Well, communication is key. And I don't just mean talking. It's about really listening to your partner, paying attention to what they're saying and how they're saying it, and trying to understand their point of view even if you don't agree with it.
It's about creating an environment where both of you feel heard and understood, where you can express your feelings and needs without being afraid of being judged or rejected.
Exactly. And make time for each other even when life gets busy. Plan regular date nights, go for walks together, or just snuggle up on the couch and watch a movie. Those little moments of connection can make a big difference.
And don't forget about the power of touch. Hugging, kissing, holding hands. Those physical expressions of affection can help you stay connected on a much deeper level.
They really do speak volumes even when we can't find the words. Another important thing is to support each other's personal growth. Encourage your partner to pursue their passions and interests, celebrate their achievements, and be there for them when things get tough.
And be willing to grow yourself. Relationships are a two-way street. If you want your partner to evolve, you have to be open to change as well.
Growth is essential both individually and as a couple. If you're not growing, you're stagnant, and that's not good for any relationship.
And sometimes that growth means seeking professional help. It's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. If you're having trouble communicating or working through challenges on your own, a therapist can provide valuable guidance and support.
Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. In fact, it's often the bravest and most loving thing you can do for yourself and for your relationship.
This deep dive has been really eye-opening. It's made me realize that relationships are a constant work in progress, but it's so worth the effort.
I totally agree. When we invest in our relationships, we're investing in our own happiness and well-being. We're creating a safe haven, a place where we can be ourselves, flaws and all, and know that we are loved and accepted.
That's a beautiful thought.
Yeah, it really is. And it makes you think about this Reddit thread and this woman who shared her story.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder about all the things people are going through that we don't see.
It's true. We're so quick to judge based on appearances,
Mm.
but there's always more to the story than meets the eye. Someone might look like they have it all together, but underneath, they could be struggling with insecurities or health problems or relationship issues that we have no idea about.
It's a good reminder to, treat everyone with kindness and understanding. You never know what someone else is going through, and a little bit of compassion can go a long way.
And sometimes those struggles are happening right in our own homes and our own relationships. It's easy to fall into routines and forget to see our partners as the complex, ever-changing people they are.
We stop noticing the little things that make them special and unique. And that's when things can start to fall apart. We have to actively try to stay connected and stay curious about each other, even after years of being together.
So how do we do that? How do we stay in tune with our partners as they change and grow?
By staying curious, like we talked about, ask questions, really listen to what they have to say, and be open to learning new things about them. It's like reading a book that keeps getting new chapters, a story that unfolds over time.
And be willing to share your own journey, too. Let your partner see your vulnerabilities, your hopes, your fears, your dreams. That kind of openness can really bring you closer together and help you connect on a deeper level.
It's all about creating a safe space, a place where you can both be yourselves completely without any judgment, a place where you can laugh together, cry together, and be there for each other through thick and thin.
And when those challenges inevitably come up, remember that you're on the same team. You're not fighting against each other, you're facing the obstacle together.
Exactly. It's about approaching conflict as partners, not opponents. It's about finding solutions that work for both of you, that respect both of your needs and perspectives.
This whole conversation, this deep dive into this Reddit thread, has really made me think. It's shown me that relationships take constant effort. They're always evolving, but the effort is so worth it.
I completely agree. When we put in the work to nurture our relationships, we're investing in our own happiness and well-being.
Ja.
We're creating a safe and loving space where we can be ourselves, flaws and all, and know that we are loved and accepted.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
It is, isn't it? And it brings us back to this idea of, being kind and understanding, because you never really know what someone else is going through. So to our listeners out there, as you navigate your own relationships, remember to approach them with an open heart, an open mind, and a willingness to grow alongside your partner. Embrace the journey, the good, the bad, the messy, the beautiful. It's all part of the amazing tapestry of love and connection.
And if you're enjoying these deep dives into the human experience, be sure to subscribe to Voices of the Soul on your favorite podcast platform. We're also on YouTube, where you can find even more thought-provoking content and connect with us directly. Just search for Shauna Pelage. Thanks for joining us on this journey of exploration.
Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.